Let's wait for 2 minutes for those to join. Okay, let's start. So let's do some questions on differentiability. So let's do this question. Question number 3 in the Palikan model. So fx is given as x cube of sine of 1 by x when x is not equal to 0 and 0 when x equal to 0. I have to show that, okay, fx is differentiable and continuous at x equals to 0, and also show that f dash x is continuous at x equals to 0. I have to check for continuity of fx, differentiability of fx, and also the continuity of f dash x. So I'm not going to show the continuity of fx. That is your homework. Okay, very easy to show. You can use the epsilon delta definition. Okay, now let's find the differentiability. So f dash 0 is equals to limit x tends to 0 f of x minus f0 by x minus 0, right? Which can be written as limit x tends to 0. We have x cube sine of 1 by x minus 0 by x is equals to limit x tends to 0 x square sine square of 1 by x. Now this will always be a finite number, right? Because sine of 1 by x will be minus 1 to 1. This cannot be infinite. So we can get 0 into a finite number is equals to 0. So therefore, that f dash 0 is equals to 0, right? f dash 0 is equals to 0. Now, in general, if I find f dash x when x is not equal to 0, I will get some 3x square of sine of 1 by x minus of x of cos 1 by x. That is, I'm using direct differentiation for x not equal to 0. Okay. And this and 0 when x equals to 0, that we have just shown that f plus 0 is 0, right? Now I have to check if this is continuous or not. Okay, can you show it? So you have two functions that you have. One is 3x square sine of 1 by x, and one is x of cos 1 by x. You can separately show these to be continuous, and then you can directly say that if f and g are continuous, then f minus g are also continuous. You can do that very easily. It can be done. Okay, also you can do it like that. 3x square sine of 1 by x minus 0, okay, is less than of 3 times mod of x square. If you take epsilon equal to 3 delta square, you are done. Similarly, in case of x of cos of 1 by x minus 0, it is less than or equal to, okay, mod x. So if you take epsilon is equals to just delta, you are done, right? And then you can say that because f and g are continuous, then f minus g will also be continuous. That is a theorem. Okay, so you can do it like that, or if you want to try, you can directly try it, but that will be a little more like clumsier. Okay. So that's so you can also do that f dash x is also continuous, and these type of questions are actually asked in the exam. Okay, that they will ask you to prove, to find f dash x and also prove that f dash x is also continuous. Okay, so mostly questions are not asked from this area, differentiability of one variable. In UPSC paper, they tend to ask differentiability of two variables. Okay, because that is a more it requires more practice, and it requires like lot of confusion in is there about fx fy, okay, and when is fxy equal to fyx, and when it is not equal, all these things. Okay, and then does existence of fx fy means that function is differentiable? So you can have fx and fy, still the function is still fx f is not differentiable. Not differentiable. You can have partial derivatives of a function and still the function is not differentiable. That is also possibility in two variables, and that's why it becomes like much more difficult to imagine to like go. So UPSC usually asks differentiability of two variables. It seldomly asks question from one variable differentiability, but it doesn't mean it cannot be asked. Opposite can be asked, but mainly they will ask you questions about limit, then like continuity. Even if they ask differentiability, that is application of limited continuity only. Let's do one more question. So so I have to show fx is continuous. You can do it finding the left hand limit, right hand limit. Okay, and then you can solve. That is up to you. I'm trying to show that f dash x exists or not exist. That is the question. So if you have practiced enough, you know that this limit, okay, limit x tends to 0, e to the power 1 by x minus e to the power 1 minus 1 by x by e to the power 1 by x plus e to the power 1 by x does not exist. This limit does not exist. I can show you. So that's why the left hand derivative and the right hand derivatives will be unequal in this case. So let's say limit x tends to 0 from the negative side, fx minus f0 by x minus 0 is equals to limit x tends to 0 from the negative side. So this will be x to the power x minus e to the power minus 1 by x e to the power 1 by x plus e to the power minus 1 by x minus 0 whole upon x. This will be limit x tends to 0 from the negative side of e to the power 1 by x minus e to the power minus 1 by x e to the power 1 by x plus e to the power minus 1 by x. So as we know that x tends to 0 from negative side. Okay, so minus of 1 by x will tends to infinity. Okay. And it means that I have to eliminate this to compute, right? Okay, I have to eliminate this to compute. So if minus of 1 by x tends to infinity, then 1 by x must tend to 0, right? 1 by x must tend to 0. Sorry, e to the power 1 by x must tend to 1. So if I write it like this, instead of 0 from negative side, okay, then e to the power 2 by x minus 1 upon e to the power 2 by x plus 1, and this terms will become 0, so I will get minus 1. So the left hand derivative comes out to be minus 1. Okay, let's find the right hand derivative. X tends to 0 from the positive side, then it will be again x e to the power 1 by x minus e to the power minus 1 by x upon e to the power 1 by x plus e to the power minus 1 by x minus 0 by x whole by x. So this will be limit x tends to 0 from the positive side, then it will be e by x minus power minus 1 by x upon e to the power 1 by x plus e to the power minus 1 by x. Now, as x tends to 0 from the positive side, 1 by x tends to infinity. It means minus of e to the power of minus 1 by x will tend to 0, right? So limit x tends to 0 from positive sides. I can write it as 1 minus e to the power minus 2 by x, 1 plus e to the power minus 2 by x. This will become 0. So is equals to 1 minus 0 upon 1 plus 0 is equals to 1. So left hand derivative is equals to minus 1 and right hand derivative is equals to plus 1. So hence the function is not differentiable. Not differentiable. Okay. So this should be your this question I think has been asked in PYQ also. This question has been asked in PYQ also. So most of the questions that you see in differentiability are can be seen in your quantitative part also. Same questions. Okay, nothing new. So you can do the first exercise. You can practice the first exercise. Okay, or if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Yes. Okay, this is the question. Prove G is continuous derivable at x equal to 1. I am going to cover the Rolle's theorem and mean value theorem in the next session. I will take a session on Tuesday. Okay, because I have a session on Monday about art and culture. So Monday I don't have time. So Tuesday I will take a session on Rolle's theorem and mean value theorem, because many questions, like I think 4 or 5 questions has been asked. Okay. So I'm recording this session, so I will share the link also. Okay, I'm recording the session, so I will share the link also. If everything goes fine, sometimes the recording doesn't come out well. So I've recorded it, so I will send it. So for Rolle's theorem and mean value theorem, I will take a separate session, and in that session we will do lot of questions, because sometimes it becomes a little difficult for students. So I will take as many questions as possible. Okay, now this is the question, a very beautiful question. Although these kind of questions have not been asked in the PYQ, but it is given in the book. Okay. So first, find what is the value of fx. Can anyone tell me what is fx in simplified form? It is a piecewise function. Anyone? What is fx when x is less than 1? It is -1, because x to the 1 to the, if any number is less than 1, then its power, if you tend the power to infinity, it will become 0. So it will be 0 minus 1 upon 0 plus 1 minus 1. And if it is greater than, then it is tends to infinity. So you have to divide back to the power n, which will cancel out from the denominator also. You will get 1 minus 1 upon x to the power n, 1 plus 1 upon, so this is the limit x to the power, n to the power, limit n goes to infinity, 1 minus 1 upon x to the power n, and 1 plus 1 upon x to the power n. And because x is greater than 1, so x to the power n tends to infinity when n tends to infinity. So therefore 1 upon x to the power n will tend to 0. Okay. So this will become 0. This will become 0. So you will get 1 by 1, which is 1. Correct. Similarly, for this will become 0. X to the power n tends to 0 if x is less than 1. Not x is less than 1. So this will then in that case you will let x to the power n minus 1 upon x to the power n plus 1. This becomes 0. You will get 0 minus 1 upon 0 plus 1, which is minus 1. That is why this is the function. Right? This is the function. So fx is this in simplified form. Okay. Now you are saying that gx is equals to 0 to x. Okay. ft dt. ft dt. Okay. 0 to x ft dt. So for it will be gx is equals to, when x is less than 1, then it will be 0 to x, okay, minus 1 dx, sorry, minus 1 dt. Okay, at x equal to 1, there is no point at x equal to 1. Then x is greater than 1, it will be something 0 to 1. So gx is equals to 0 to x ft. So let's say case 1, when x is less than 1. So gx will be 0 to x minus 1 dx. Okay, is equals to minus x. G of 1 is equals to 0 to 1 minus 1 dx again, because in integration upper limit is not included. So 0 to 1 minus 1 dx, then it will be minus 1. Okay. Yes, minus 1, 0, minus x, big 1, minus 1, 0. Yes, minus 1. And similarly, g of Then case 3 when x is greater than 1. So g of x is equals to 0 to x ft dt, which is equals to 0 to 1 ft dt plus 1 to x ft dt, right? So 0 to 1 we have already proved it is minus 1 plus 1 to x ft dt. So 1 to x or greater than 1 it is x only, sorry 1 only. So 1 dx is equals to minus 1 plus x from 1 to infinite 1 to x, so here t dt minus 1 plus this will be x minus 1 is equals to x minus 2. Okay, so if you say, so gx comes out to be minus x where x is less than 1, minus 1 or x equal to 1, and x minus 2 or x greater than equal to 2. Now you can find the limit. Okay, so left hand limit is equals to limit x tends to 1 of minus x will come out to be minus 1. Right hand limit will come out to be limit x tends to 2 of x of minus 2 is equals to 1 minus 2 equal to minus 1, and value at x equal to 1 is also minus 1. So therefore gx is continuous, right? Gx is continuous. Now let's check differentiability. There's two ways to check differentiability. You can go by definition, but I'm not going by definition. That is your homework. X less than 1, minus 1, and this is x minus 2. Okay, so you can directly see at x equal to 1, the left hand derivative is equals to minus 1, and the right hand derivative is equals to 1, because differentiation of x minus x will be minus 1 and x minus 2 will be 1. So the left hand derivative and right hand derivative are not equal. Okay, 1 and minus 1 are coming. So gx is not differentiable. Gx is not differentiable. Now my question is fx differentiable? I'm asking you guys, is fx, that is this function differentiable? Yes or no? Why the chat box is empty? It's a very simple question that I'm asking. Is gx differentiable?
Gx or fx?
So gx is not differentiable, that we have already proved, right? Because the left hand derivative and the right hand derivative are not equal. I'm asking about fx. Is fx differentiable?
Fx is not continuous. How can it be differentiable?
Exactly. So fx is not continuous, so it cannot be differentiable. So the answer is no. Fx is not differentiable. Okay. Fx is not differentiable. But if you directly differentiate it, then you will get 0 everywhere. F dash x is 0 everywhere. So left hand derivative, right hand derivative come out to be equal, right? Although they come out to be equal, but still they are not differentiable, because fx is not continuous. So if a function is not continuous, then it can never be differentiable, because continuity is the necessary condition for differentiability. Without satisfying the criteria of continuity, we cannot graduate to differentiability. So this is not continuous, which implies not differentiable, right? But gx is continuous but not differentiable. Can you prove by definition that gx is not differentiable? Yes, we can prove it. Okay, let's prove it. Let's find the left hand derivative. Left hand derivative means limit x tends to 1 from the negative side, because the main point that we need to check is 1, right? On the negative side, g of x minus g of 1 upon x minus 1. So this will be limit x tends to 1 from the negative side, minus x, what is g1 minus 1, so minus of minus 1 upon x minus 1 is equals to, this will be 6 this will be 1 minus x upon x minus 1. So limit x tends to 1 from negative side, this will be minus 1, right? Similarly, the right hand derivative will be limit x tends to 1 from positive side, it will be your x minus 2, x minus 2, and what is g1? Minus of minus 1, which is x minus 2 plus 1 upon x minus 1 is equals to limit x tends to 1 from negative side, x minus 1 upon x minus 1 is equals to 1. So why this question was actually a good question for two reasons. First, the question is defined in a very ambiguous, not ambiguous way, very like confusing way. So people like tend to directly use the first theorem of, if you directly use the first theorem of fundamental theorem of calculus, then things will get a little weird. It is always better to check piecewise. The major mistake that I have seen people make is this: they directly integrate the function. You cannot directly integrate the function because the definition of function is changing at x equal to 1. So if x is greater than 1, you have to break it into 0 to 1 and then 1 to x. If you don't take this part, then you will find that gx will not come out to be continuous, because most of the people forget this part. That's why they don't get fx to be gx to be continuous. Then obviously that creates a problem, because the question itself asks show that gx is continuous but not differentiable. Okay, so try this question at home and try other question at home. Okay, now coming to what is increasing function. What is increasing function? As the name suggests, if I draw the graph of the function, okay, it should always increase. So as x is increasing, y should also increase. Or if we go to the other direction, x is decreasing, then y should also decrease. This is the kind of increasing function. So increasing function can be like divided into two functions. One is just simply when we say increasing, and one is strictly increasing. So what is the formal definition of increasing function? Increasing function. So for an increasing function, if x1 is greater than x2, this implies that fx1 is always greater than equal to fx2. Or if x1 is less than x2, it implies that fx1 is always less than equal to fx2. And fx1 is, so this is the formal definition of, if I take a bigger x, then the value of y or the value of function at that point will be bigger or at least equal. This is the definition of increasing function. Okay, for this to happen, the f dash x should be greater than equal to 0. That is, the differential of the function should be positive. Okay, should be positive. This is the one thing. Now, similarly, for decreasing functions, the definition will get reverse. If x1 is greater than x2, then this should apply that fx1 should be less than or equal to fx2. That is the value of y decreasing with increasing x. If x1 is less than x2, then it should imply that fx1 should be greater than or equal to f of x2. For this to happen, f dash x should be less than equal to 0. Okay. F dash x should be less than equal to 0. I am taking equal in both parts. A constant function is both increasing and decreasing. It depends on definition. Although for most of the cases, if fx equal to a constant, we take it as increasing function. Okay. So better to define something called strictly increasing. Okay. That is strictly increasing. So what is the difference between strictly increasing? This equality part will go. If the function is strictly increasing, it means fx1 is strictly greater than fx2, not equal. It cannot be equal. And fx1 is less than fx2. That is equality part will go. And that's why fx dash should be, that is the differentiable should be greater than 0. Similarly, for the strictly decreasing, again, same thing. The equality part will go. This part will go. fx1 is strictly less than fx2. fx1 is strictly greater than fx2 for the second case, and f dash x is strictly less than 0. is negative. Okay, and it is very helpful in many questions. Okay, especially the questions of Rolle's theorem and all those things, and proving that something is less than one or something is greater than one. Okay, that kind of things, questions. So, like say I want to prove that sine x is less than one always. Okay, less than equal to one always. So what I can define a function fx equals to sine x minus 1. Okay. Then f dash x is equals to cos x. Right. Now, for all x, for all x, so cos x sine. So for, let's say if I take from 0 to pi by 2, from 0 to pi by 2, then in 0 to pi by 2, cos x is positive, sin x minus 2, cos x is positive, it means fx is increasing. I want to show minus 1. I want to prove, let's say, it's difficult to prove because I'm not able to get a sign scheme for cos x. So let's take some other problem. Okay. Okay. So let's say I want to prove that log of 1 plus x is always greater than x minus x square by 2 for all x greater than 0. So if I define log of 1 plus x, a log of 1 plus x, take this to this side, minus x plus x square by 2. Find of f dash x is equals to 1 by 1 plus x minus 1 plus x. Right. So simplify it, you will get 1 minus 1 minus x plus x square plus 1 whole upon x plus 1. So 1 minus, so this will be plus x. So this will cancel out, this will cancel out. You get x square by x plus 1. So x square is always greater than equal to 0. Okay. So x is greater than 0, it cannot be equal to 0. This is strictly greater than 0. Why? Because x is positive. So x plus 1 will also be positive. So a positive upon positive is a positive. So this implies that f dash x is always greater than 0. This implies fx is increasing. Fx is increasing. Fx is increasing. So for all x greater than 0, fx will be greater than f0. Okay, and what is f0? What was our fx? Fx was this log x plus 1 minus x. So fx was log of 1 plus x, okay, minus x plus x square by 2. So f of 0 is equals to log 1 minus 0 plus 0 is equals to 0. So from this, fx is greater than 0 because f0 is 0. Okay, that means log of 1 plus x minus x plus x square by 2 is greater than 0. Taking it to the other side, you can get that log of 1 plus x is greater than x minus x square. This kind of question are asked in exam sometimes. So you can prove it. Okay, you can easily prove it. So try doing these questions in the next session. So I'm like ending this session now. So in the next session, what are we going to do? And it is very important for the exam. We are going to do the intermediate value theorem. Okay. Intermediate value theorem. The second thing that we are going to do is the Rolle's theorem. Rolle's theorem. This is very important. The third thing is the Lagrange's mean value theorem. Again, very important. These two are important. We are going to do this. So these are based on the idea of graph. So if you visualize the graph, like the intermediate value theorem says that if you have 2 points such that fx into fy, okay, is less than 0. So for a continuous function, there exists a c such that fc equal to 0. So why does this happen? Okay. What happened, Nitish? Okay, so fc equal to 0. Why does this happen? This happens because if I take a graph, let's say this, and I have a continuous function. So let's say fx1 is here and fx2 is here. That's the only thing, like only possibility for a real number, that fx into fx2 equal to, is less than 0. That they both have different signs. One is positive, other have to be negative. Okay. Then it must cross the x-axis once. So there exists one point x equal to c such that fc is equals to 0. Okay. fc is equals to. How did you get square term in numerator term of f, derivative of f? Okay. So actually this happened like this. The square term come like this. Okay. So we had 1 upon 1 plus x minus 1 plus x. You get 1 minus 1 plus x times 1 plus x upon x plus 1, right? Now solve it. 1 minus 1 minus x plus x square plus x upon x plus 1. 1 and minus 1 get cancelled. X and minus x get cancelled. You get x square upon 1 plus x. You can try it yourself. Just. So we will do the intermediate value theorem. There are some very good questions from intermediate value theorem. Okay, and this Rolle's theorem. Like one question being the favorite of UPSC. Okay. One favorite question of UPSC is there. We will discuss that question. It has asked I think 2 or 3 times in the exam. And then there are some questions where you have to assume the function. Then I will give a little hint how to assume the function. Okay. So if you guys have any questions, then ask. Otherwise, I'm ending the meeting. So this is the differentiability. Practice it. You can do the IMS notes if you want, or you can like do the PYQ related to it. So from Rolle's theorem, I will provide the important questions separately. All the important questions from Rolle's and Mean theorem, I will provide a sheet separately so that you can practice it. It will require little practice. Any doubt? Any question? Okay, then. Okay, one more thing. Richa has shared a function in the group. So, Richa, your function is not continuous on 1/2. Because if I see at x when x is a rational, that is x equal to 1/2 is a rational number, you will get fx equal to 1/2. While for irrational, you will get 0. So it is not continuous at 1/2. Your function is not continuous at 1/2. Think a little more. But this function is continuous at your function is continuous at x equal to 0. Your function